Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to wish everyone a very happy and blessed new year. This year, 2024, is going to be a really, really powerful portal that, one way or another, both individually and collectively alike, is going to, let's say, catapult us, shoot us, kick us towards our future. This is when we truly step into the future. But what that means for everyone individually, it is really a question of your choices, of your preferences, and most importantly, of your beliefs related to your lower thinking, of course, because more or less, from an energetic perspective, this was the big theme of 2023 with all of its retrogrades. Remember the Venus retrograde, the tumultuous Mercury retrogrades in predominantly Earth signs, starting with Taurus, then Virgo, and of course Capricorn. This is where we were invited to truly distill our inner truth, basically, what reality means to us, but in different ways. As we progressed through the year 2023, each period, each season came with a different theme. But the big question, what are our options, what our preferences are based on our deepest inner truth and value system. Jupiter from May transiting the sign of Taurus, and also May next year it will enter into the sign of Gemini, so that builds further on the theme. But where I want to go with this is that we were guided to spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, economically, financially, in so very many ways to seek our innermost truth, our most authentic value system, because whatever answers, feelings, states we came up with, well, that is what's gonna unfold, let's say, in 2024. Because unknowingly, unwillingly, for some people actually willingly and consciously, we made those choices and we locked in that kind of reality. So we can, all of us can imagine that the main seeds of intentions that we really, really insisted on planting into the universe, and this not just 2023, but ever since 2020, even going a few years back, further back than that, but let's say 2020, those were very, very important years when we really, really needed to plant the seeds of intention for this future that we are about to step into. So this the very first week of the first very first week of this new year of 2024 is definitely going to be reflective of this, because it is going to feel like, the sling being pulled backwards more and more and more, which means that we just know that there is going to be a moment when the sling is going to be let loose. So the shooting action will take place. So that is what's upcoming. But the shooting action, so to speak, is not just one singular action. So it is basically over the course of this spring, basically the upcoming spring in 2024. So it's not a singular moment, but we are feeling it. We are definitely going to be feeling it. Now, if you'd like to know more about the specifics of 2024, the major celestial conversations, the karmic flow in a big picture, I have a separate video about that, and I invite you to check that out if you're curious. Because in this recording, I'm just going to keep it very simple. The weekly horoscope of the first week of the year, so the 1st of January until the 7th of January. And already on the very first day, on the 1st of January, we have a very powerful energetic intensifying because two planets are changing directions almost at the same time, because on the 31st of January, sorry, 31st of December 2024, so very last day of 2023, Jupiter is standing still in the sky, preparing to go direct forwards. But on the 1st of January, Mercury is doing the very same thing, preparing to standing still in the sky and preparing to go direct. Now, there is a strong connection between these two planets because Mercury is in Sagittarius and Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. So this is where Jupiter's standstill is really, really influencing Mercury's standstill and the Sagittarian expression of this. So on one hand, this is where we might have a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of optimism, a lot of hope, a lot of drive, a lot of power. Basically, the strength to believe that we are actually moving towards what we desire, what we need, what justice, what truth, what well being, what completion means to us personally in this year 2024, of course, in the larger sense. So this is a really, really beautiful and optimistic energy. Mercury is not very comfortable in Sagittarius, but in this sense is actually a big plus because it doesn't need to know all the details. Mercury in Sagittarius, it's enough if it makes sense in the big picture, that you feel it, you sense it, you believe that you are actually going towards that. So this is a really, really beautiful energy, especially that also on the 1st of January, the sun is going to be holding a trine with the moon. This is an earth trine. Very, 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 very beautiful and practical, moon and Virgo. So we're really, really feeling our sense of being organized on this new year. We want this new year to be as organized, Virgo, as pure, as meeting the intent as possible. But at the same time, we are also willing to adjust, adapt, and make compromises, also Virgo. But the moon, before it trines the sun, it actually trines Jupiter. This is where Jupiter is in the earth sign of Taurus, moon, of course, in Virgo. And remember, Jupiter is just preparing to go direct. So this really amplifies the energy. This is again very, very hopeful because we feel, even instinctually, the gut feeling, Virgo, moon and Virgo, that we can get there. We need to get there. We will feel everything that is important to us. And a blessing also comes in the sense that we will not feel very strongly everything that is not important. You know, our inner truth, based on our inner truth. This is where everything that is not important is going to be invited to leave us alone. And now we get to the not so favorable or not so easy part of the energy, because this year 2024 has a very strong dichotomy and duality to it due to Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. Not necessarily in a conflictual way, but everything is colored at least in two colors. You know what I mean? So again, the very first of the new year, very first day of the new year is going to be just like that. Strong hope and belief and optimism with Jupiter and Mercury changing directions, with all of that. But at the same time, there is also a sense of pessimism and a very not so gentle, let's say, reality check. Even though in the big picture, if we look at this from the perspective of the observer, This is truly needed and a blessing, yet it may be very, very uncomfortable because Mercury, as it stands still, it is still holding the square with Neptune. And that can be a bit pessimistic. That can be disillusioning. That can be tearful. That can be confusing. That can be very, very unsettling. But at the same time, there's also optimism in the air. Now, this can play out as a moment of big high with Jupiter, followed by a low and a fall of Neptune squaring Mercury. But it can also play out in a rather balanced way where we have all those hopes, Jupiter, and those hopes that do make sense and we feel them, we need them. Our lives simply cannot be complete without them. But there's also the reality check and the disillusionment of Mercury being squared by Neptune, in the sense that we are very well aware of everything that we do not have in the present moment, everything that we cannot accomplish, and everything that would be impossible to accomplish outside of hope and faith. Do you know what I mean? But also, we have another energy, Venus, freshly entered into the sign of Sagittarius, where she wants to be as hopeful and as extravagant as, dreaming big as possible. Venus also holds a square with Saturn, and this is also Sagittarius Pisces energy. And this is where the reality check, the harshness of the reality check comes into play, because that Saturn and Pisces is going to tell Venus it's absolutely fine to be optimistic and hopeful and extravagant and dream big, aim big, wish big, but you must keep in context that this is going to be a year, or, for example, the situations in our lives where limitation Saturn, or a very strong need for measure, not to overdo it, and also a need for diligence, a need for maturity, responsibility, and to make sure that all our hopes, our big, big dreams are actually aligned with our deepest morality in its most superficial example, but in its most, how should I say, deep example, that they are aligned with the specifics of our own connection and unity with spirit, with the source, with the divine, our deepest non-religious, this is important, non-religious faith. You know what I mean? The specifics of our divine nature, which aspect, which role, which avatar, let's say, facade of the divine we represent more deeply, and which we do not, but that which we do not, that is more important than that which we do. Why? Because it is our greatest duty, Saturn in Pisces, to come to understand even that which we not, because that is the key to harmony. And Venus in the sign of Sagittarius doesn't like this. She doesn't like the limitations. She doesn't like when her wings, her butterfly wings, are being cut off by reality. Yet we must understand the utility of this energy, because, okay, it can be heavy. It can be like a constant battle, almost as if we are bipolar, of hope and disillusionment. This moment, I am hopeful, I am dreaming big. In half an hour, I am more grounded in pessimistic reality than I'm actually comfortable as. So, as I said, it is almost going to be like a bipolar energy. But if we are able to get a grip on it, this is actually very, very, it is a blessing. It is very positive because, as I said, Venus's extravagant wings are cut off, and that is good. You know what I mean? Because Venus would use her wings to get into the fire, Sagittarius fire sign, like the moth to the flame. And we don't want to start the year like that. We don't want to start the year with, let's see the themes of Venus: overspending, um, planting seeds of intentions. Again, this is very important on the first days of the year, which are just, how should I say, overdoing being hopeful. They're not needed, really. They're just an extravagance. So that's also very not positive, especially in 2024. So Venus's wings are being cut off for a short period, but for her to get a grip on reality. You know what I mean? Because if we get a grip on reality, and if our aspirations and what we desire, Venus, who we love, what we love, any Venusian theme, money, our relationships to money, self-worth, value, anything international, religion, and justice, how we feel about these themes, if they are aligned either with our deepest morality or beyond this with our spirit, long story short of what I said, then that's an alignment which serves us in a really, really Saturnian way. So it cannot go wrong. It is guaranteed to produce some effects, and that the major effect of that is equilibrium. So that's really, really positive. So whatever lows we might get at these the first few days of 2024, on one hand, we must be balanced, but on the other hand, we must welcome them, as in to integrate them as a certain kind of other side of the truth. For our hopes and dreams not to be foolish, not to be purely naive, not to be fantasistic. In order for this, our deeper faith and hope to align, we do need to welcome these squares and the hardships and the heaviness and the not pink truth, the rather gray truth, which is part of life as well, that they dish onto the table. If we keep balanced, if we are, as I said, aligned with our connection to source, then this energy can truly serve us, because what remains from this alchemical cocktail, it is just the distilled hope of, let's say, uh, Jupiter at the first day of the year trining the moon, or the moon trining the sun, or the upcoming towards the very end of the week, Mars trining Jupiter. And also, Venus later on is gonna break up the square. So she will be free, more or less. She will be free to fly as high as she would like. So these elements I do think that are very, very important at the very first day and the very first few days of the week, yes, and of the year, because we need to get into reality, and very, very quickly. Yes, Mercury does not advantage us with that, because Mercury square Neptune, and towards the end of the week it's going to get stronger, the Mercury square Neptune. That is when empirically, logically, rationally, we just cannot figure out the facts, the reality, what truth is. But that should not be really a problem, as long as we have healthy and reality aligned trust in our hearts. No problem at all, because our Jupiterian optimism can get us there. And another really important event that is with it. Oh, actually, let me share my screen. Sorry. Because all of this is so we're on the 1st of January. You can see Venus squaring Saturn, and Saturn is conjunct by the degree with fixed star Fomalhaut, a very important fixed star, one of the watchers of the four corners, so to speak, the star associated with Archangel Gabriel, which represents deep, deep spiritual wisdom, the knowledge of alchemy, and so and so. Saturn conjunct with it. And it squares Venus in this configuration. Wisdom. Wisdom is so very much essential. And if our own wisdom fails, Pisces, the wisdom of our ancestors are with us. With Saturn in Pisces, but especially with this conjunction with Fomalhaut. So especially these days, our ancestors are very, very strongly with us in a way that we can really feel it. And nostalgia may be flooding us, but that is also specific to the Mercury and Neptune square. And another energy which I actually wanted to show you is this Mars, 27 degree of Sagittarius, is exactly on the galactic center, the very mind of the cosmos, the very mind of the divine. So this energy, because Mars is ultimately our willpower, right? So this will energize us in an instinctual way where the cosmos is actually guiding us in a very, very mysterious way through our smallest gestures, through our reactions, through powerful synchronicity. So we are very, very guided. And also on the 2nd, Mars will trine the moon. Actually, on the 3rd, sorry. One of those we'll see as we go along. But the Mars and Moon trine is also really, really important. Oh, actually, we're after the Mars and Moon trine because we had it at the 31st of December. I'm really sorry about that. I wanted to say that the moon will trine Pluto as it gets to the very end degrees of Virgo, not Mars, because it already trine Mars. But anyway, we are really, really gonna feel guided, but in a very mysterious way. But after Mars, when Mercury starts picking up speed direct, Mercury will also touch the galactic center. So Mercury is the planet of the mind that in a way is even more important than Mars, because then it gets into our understanding, into our words, into our communication, into our mental sphere. So then we won't just simply feel and be pushed by inner forces to a certain direction. Our mind can also take us there, with the specific that Mercury will still be holding the square with Neptune, just that it will be a waning. So that's a really, really good energy. And another energy which comes as a blessing, and it comes as a fortifying factor, keeping us in reality, but in a gentle way. Saturn sextile Jupiter. This sextile between these two very important planets is not very powerful yet, but as we navigate into end of January, February, it will get stronger and more exact. But we will still feel the celestial support, where, as I said, it's very simple. Being true to our inner values, everything that is natural to us, Taurus, everything that is righteous and justice, and maybe justice isn't the correct word here, but everything that seems fair to us, being strongly aligned with that and taking action based on those principles, our guiding values and principles, and higher knowledge, even faith, everything is blessed. you know, Saturn blesses it, Jupiter blesses it. So it's a really, really good energy. And the sextile can also represent instant good karma. This is where you do a good act, a compassionate act, or whatever, Pisces, you know. One day, the next day, the karma is immediately back, knocking at your door. And you might wonder, well, this fast. And another important thing, on this 1st of January, Mercury trines the North Node. Mercury, just fresh out of retrograde. So that provides us with the motivation. That provides us with the drive. That provides us with the ambition to follow this North Node energy and to do everything that we can to head towards the future. Now, we have been doing this ever since the North Node entered Aries, but all the big retrogrades and certain squares really, and the Venus retrograde season last year really blocked us or made our journeys halt because we had to take care of everything from the past that was still pending. Now in January, February, and especially in the spring, the slingshot. Remember, we are going to be catapulted somewhere. So we will need this ambition of Mercury trine the North Node. We will really need it. So moving on to the 3rd, this is where we have another pretty heavy aspect that Venus holds. She holds a quincunx with Jupiter. But remember that Jupiter is the ruling sign of Sagittarius. So this is very strongly felt, especially that Jupiter is in Venus's sign. Venus is in Jupiter's sign. So a very strong synergy, reciprocality between these two planets, but it's still a quincunx. So surprise, the unexpected, randomness, you know, and perhaps misjudging values here. Just that this misjudgment of values doesn't necessarily lead us to all the wrong ways, because there might be a divine imprint motivating the misguidance or misevaluation. And we also have at this date on the 3rd quincunx, so sorry, Yod, 2 fingers, so the finger of God, 2 quincunxes pointing at the moon in Libra. Jupiter is pointing towards it and Saturn is pointing towards it, which means these 2 planets are linked with a sextile. So Libra is justice. Libra is relationships. Libra is one-on-one alliance. Libra is our sense of fairness. Moon, our feelings. This either means that we need to make a legally binding decision, and how should I say, Saturn in the sign of Pisces. The wisdom of the past cannot help us in the sense that it is simply not applicable to the present situation, yet still we lived something similar in the past, and it irritates us that we cannot use the wisdom. And then Jupiter in Taurus, a need of ours, or this Jupiter may represent something legally binding, having to sign a contract, but we're not sure of the terms and conditions, or a promise that is fulfilled but in an unexpected way and we don't know how to react. So, but collectively speaking, something really forces an emotional reaction from us. Maybe certain laws that we definitely do not agree with and we don't know what to do. It can be even local, just in your country, your state, your city. But we have a very strong reaction emotionally, either to something that happens diplomatically, communication-wise, on the world stage, or laws and regulations, or how something is resolved through diplomacy or in courts of justice. But individually speaking, this may mean a difficult decision. But it's fated because it's the finger of God pointing at the soul will not know what to do, really. Because as I said, Saturn in the sign of Pisces brings the strong morality and spirituality. Jupiter in the sign of Taurus, the natural, that which is more down to earth logic and valuable. So we need to find a way to make these both work at the same time and advantages, but it might be weird and fated. And Mars is an erratic in the sign of Sagittarius. This is clear what it means collectively. Religious. I don't necessarily want to say anger, neither do I want to say conflict, but just look at the world stage and the role of religion in it. So Mars is going to be in an erratic position, extremely active, extremely volatile in that sense. And if I'm not mistaken, Mars is also out of bounds or getting to out of bounds. So there is going to be something centered around religious conflict or philosophical conflict or legal conflict. Or there might be some weirdness around aviation because Sagittarius also rules long distance travel. Aviation, cosmology, there is going to be something there which activates Mars's more extreme expression, let's say. Moving on to the fourth, we have Mars finally. Oh, sorry, I haven't moved. Entering. Oh, I need to change the hour. There we are. Mars finally entering the sign of Capricorn. Now, this is really important on one hand because Mars loves being in the sign of Capricorn. It is the sign where it is able to bring out its higher qualities, but in a really, really useful, practical, harmonious way, and in a way that it can serve everyone, everything and everyone. Mars is usually chaotic. Mars is usually, how should I say, random. In the sign of Capricorn, it is forced, but in a good way, through ambition, determination, seeing the purpose, wanting the purpose, or any reward that might motivate it. It is singular, if you know what I mean. It is able to pull itself together and make it work in a singular direction, or at least in directions that are controlled. This working together with the combustive, energizing principle of Mars, well, this is how Mars accomplishes big things, and this is how Mars can build in a harmonious way. So, a very, very useful Mars for everyone, for all of us. And very, very soon, as Mars, let's say, progresses a little bit in the sign of Capricorn, maybe not the fifth is not relevant, but it will start slowly but surely holding the sextile with Saturn. And that is really, really beautiful. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So this is when it built. Mars is already starting to build. Mars is already solution oriented, very powerfully solution oriented. Any dealings, any action, anything that you might have to do with state, authority, government, institution, organization. So a group of people, this favors it. Solutions, resolutions, completions are being favored. This also favors hard negotiation, if that makes sense. This is where you convince, but with either a big gesture or really dishing out your truth, or with the help of professionals like lawyers, accountants. Mars in Capricorn is also the highly skilled specialist, let's say, with experience as well. So it is really, really favorable for that. But energetically, it will feel a bit weird. It will feel like there is a lot of motivation and determination within us. Yet at the same time, we're also slave driven by the circumstance. And at the same time, there's also a bit of disharmony between institutions and everything Capricornian. Why? Because Mars at 0 degrees is like the hammer, the blacksmith's hammer. Pluto at the very, very opposite end of Capricorn, 29 degrees. So the beginning and the end, Alpha and Omega. And the Sun exactly on the 5th. 50, you see 14th here, but it will very swiftly get into the 15th. That's Capricorn dissected by the planets with mathematic precision. Mars 0, the very beginning, Pluto the very end, and the Sun at the beginning between the two. So Pluto is the anvil, Mars is the hammer, and the Sun is the iron, which is hot, and we have to strike it. This is without even needing to explain further useful in so very many ways, but it is not necessarily easy, or it might be stressful. There might be a moment of big heated negotiation or action or reaction or something, but it gets the job done. And we will see this play out on the world stage. On the world stage collectively, this configuration means desperation from politicians, from authorities, from top-down government, top-down power to fix problems or secure its position, or but this will be pure desperation. And because Mercury at this moment already advanced a degree forward, still holding the square with Neptune, it is exactly because of this desperation that mistakes are going to be made, and not necessarily individually on the world stage. The desperation is going to cause truths to come out unwillingly and certain secrets to be revealed because human mistakes. So you can see that the world stage is going to be very, very colored because of this energy. But individually speaking, it is totally different. This is where, yeah, Mercury squaring Neptune, the disillusionment that is still staying with us. But it's exactly that disillusionment which makes us do the right action, the right choices, the right reaction, because we really don't want to get it wrong, you know? So we are really, really following things by the book, you know? We really want things in our lives to go like clockwork. This affects job, negotiations, contracts. This affects everything that we do with our career. We might be preparing to have big, big, big moves career-wise. We might be seeking our place in the world to connect to people. We are preparing basically to step into our futures, our own unique ways. And also on the 5th, we can see the moon trine Saturn. So this further, the moon in the sign of Scorpio. So this further emphasizes the fact that we want to be very, very serious. Because the moon in Scorpio, well, it's cutting down to the details. The moon in the sign of Scorpio, it wants to know, but not necessarily as that kind of knowledge, but it wants to have everything under its sphere, its range of sight. You know what I mean? This moon in the sign of Scorpio wants to be aware of everything that is maximally possible. Saturn in the sign of Pisces gives it the stability, gives it the peace, the comfort. that as long as you're doing it, you're taking action, you have the comfort of knowing that whatever you're working on, it will be resolved, it will be completed. You're advancing, even if slowly. Now, going on the 7th, this is when we can already see the Mars and Saturn sextile becoming more and more and more powerful. As I said, that is really, really beautiful. Not just in the way that I said earlier, if, in a very practical way. It is also really, really powerful and beautiful in an alchemical and magical and spiritual way, because this is an energy of manifestation. This is an energy of how do we bring our uh, ethereal creations down into the earthly sphere. How do we pull them down? As long as we met Saturn's criteria, remember, Mars, when it entered Sagittarius, it held the square with Saturn. That was where Saturn asked us through this square with Mars to distill our wisdom, to know what we're doing in faith and higher knowledge, of course. Now, when it holds the sextile is built on that knowledge that we purified. So we know what we are doing. So we distilled our desire, we distilled our ether, whatever we planted in ether, whatever we built in ether. So it has no reason why it shouldn't manifest. So this is beautiful for manifestations of all kinds. It has a very ritualistic element to this. When something follows the formula, it will work like the formula promises. This is basically it. A very quick translation of this energy. And also, I'm on the 7th now. Mars is starting to hold its trine with Jupiter. So Jupiter expands Mars's ambitions. Jupiter adds inner truth, need, security, pleasure, the satisfaction. You feeling this both in a rather down to earth way, but also psychologically. So Jupiter blesses Mars with even greater motivation. But at the same time, this can simply be just a lucky energy, lucky action, lucky initiative, lucky whatever Mars. Any Martian expression that can be lucky can get us a very, very long way. Or this can be also an aspect when, remember, Mars is still sextile Saturn. Something that we have done in the past comes back as a major blessing in our lives, making an action of ours as powerful as it can be, or for us to take an action, we receive help, support, good fortune. So this is a really, really, really beautiful energy. And also for anything that has to do with investment, Jupiter is going back on its shadow path already. It's not moving all that much yet at the very first week, absolutely. But it is trying to wrap up the Jupiter retrograde season. So in Taurus, under the retrograde, maybe we were halted to invest or to buy something or to integrate something into our lives, because Taurus is permanent. Now, when it's starting to move direct and hold such beautiful aspects, it encourages us. But this is more next week, not the very first week of January, but the week that follows, when it's going to be the big theme to, go and do it, basically, the slingshot, take action. If you remember, autumn 2023 was very slow. Stagnations and standstills and freezes and blockages were a big part of our lives. Starting from January, and in even bigger things, more from 27th of January, but we can basically include all of January in this. And then, of course, February, all of February, things are going to be moving with lightning speed, the total opposite of what we had in autumn 2023. So we must expect things to pick up lightning speed very, very soon. Not yet, not this week, but that's where the energies are going to go. So we might be feeling this, like, symbolically speaking, sugar rush even at the very end of next week. And also on the 7th, we will be feeling the Mercury squaring Neptune for the third and final time in this larger Mercury retrograde. So, but as I said, we must use our wisdom and we must use our deepest faith to make, as in to integrate that disillusionment, integrate the friction between hope and pessimism, because the friction between the two actually gets us to healthy faith, healthy hope, and healthy belief. We do not allow to get into the clouds where, Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius would like to take us, especially that Venus is also present in the sign. You know what I mean? And Mercury is preparing to conjunct the galactic center, truly the cloud, beyond the clouds. But neither do we allow Neptune square Mercury to depress us and take us into the depths of the infinite ocean where there's no return. Neither of the two, which means that when the two meet, it's just the healthy dose of both optimism but also reality check. But by the very end of the week, Venus has already broken the square with Saturn, so she is in that sense free as a bird. And the moon at the very end of the week also holds a beautiful trine with Neptune. So again, dreams, hope, the presence of the spirit, and the wisdom of our ancestors are, as I said, going to be with us very, very intensely and strongly all throughout the week, giving us strength and joy and inner power to navigate through the Venus Saturn square and Mercury Neptune square, this Piscean drowning, so to speak, and give us the inner clarity and also the instinct, the inner drive to embrace everything that is health in a healthy way, hopeful and optimistic in our lives. And besides all of this, a lot of practical action and work with Mars in the sign of Capricorn, along with the Sun. So I would like to leave it at this. Again, thank you so, so, so much, everyone, for all your love, all your support in this past year, 2023. I could definitely not be here and do this without your help. And I would like to do this also in 2024. So I am really hoping and wishing for me to be able to offer you guidance all throughout the year. Thank you again, everyone, and wishing a very, very happy and blessed new year. So until next time, bye for now. If I can manage to shut down the recording. So thank you, everyone. Bye for now.